a time in his career he was bitter he didn't win that Defensive Player of the Year award. He should have won it. The year he finished second in that balloting, Marc Gasol won it, even though Marc Gasol was not even first-team All-NBA defense. It seemed curious. There was a point in time in his career he was bitter. He wasn't unanimous league MVP. Everyone voted for LeBron first, and then a writer from Boston voted for Carmelo Anthony to stick it to LeBron. So he was not able to do that before anyone else. Steph Curry ended up doing it a few years later. LeBron says it's all about team accomplishments now, and I believe him. But for basketball historians, of which I consider myself one, and for people who just love the game, it would be one of the most unbelievable accomplishments in modern NBA history. For a guy who's played the 6th most minutes in the history of basketball, for a guy in year 17, coming off the first injury of his career, if at this phase, playing a new position for the first time, with a new head coach, with a totally new roster, for the first time in a decade, the general basketball public having some skepticism about how good is LeBron really, if he responds to that by winning his 5th league MVP, tying Jordan and Russell for 2nd most all time, only behind Kareem, it would, for me, further cement him as the greatest player of all time. And for those who aren't yet on that corner, they would have to start at least acknowledging the evidence is becoming overwhelming.
Yeah, it's just another medallion around his neck. When I look at LeBron James, what's been so impressive is this is different than football or any other sport for that matter. And I'm not knocking any other sport, but the amount of games and the consistency he has to play with and the high level that he has to put forth on every single game to be considered the MVP of the NBA against the elites of the elites, the talent that we see, the Lukas, the James Hardens, the Giannis, like these guys are new, they're upcoming, and so they're exciting. And so oftentimes we become enamored with what's new instead of really appreciating what has always been. And for LeBron James to be able to do what he's doing in year 17, like, it's so impressive, and kudos to him, because last year, all of what took place and transpired, him not being named or talked about the way he had been in years prior as being one of the best players, or if not the best player in all of basketball, it bothers you as a player when you've always been on top and you've always been the guy, and you move to LA and you have all these other things going on. You've only wanted the one thing to remain the one thing, and it kind of slipped away from him because of injury last year. You're gonna have a season like this, and he's killing it.
And I know, Jenna, you and some other people at times think that the LeBron James discussion gets over the top, or it's a little too much. And what I would say is, the way he has been evaluated by many has been one of the most ridiculous things I've ever experienced in my career on television or radio. My life as a sports fan. I remember 2 years ago when LeBron, in his final year in Cleveland, had the 2 game winners in the playoffs. And the discussion on this show and others was, has LeBron James finally proven that he's clutch? Forget the fact that prior to that, he already had the NBA record for game winners, for buzzer beaters in the postseason, that he had a 37-12 in a Game 7 of the NBA Finals, that he had hit the clinching free throw in a different Game 7 of the NBA Finals, that he had already dethroned the 73-win Warriors. We were still in year 15 having a referendum. How clutch is this guy really? And then in year 16, he goes to a new team. They're 3rd in the Western Conference when the 2nd best player is who? He's averaging 27, 8, and 9. They are whooping the Golden State Warriors that had a healthy, before they were decimated by injury. And he pops his groin. And immediately, the discussion is, he went to LA for movies. He's, you know what I mean? He's more focused on things other than basketball. His game shows, Space Jam. He is a distraction to the team because he wants to add talent in Anthony Davis. And we're being honest, like, it's not only that he's not the best player in basketball anymore. Check the preseason list going into this year. Nikola Jokic was ahead of him. Everyone had Kawhi ahead of him. And for 12 years prior to the Christmas Day last season, he's the best player in the world. He looked like the best player in the world up until Christmas Day. He tore his groin, came back earlier than expected, and did not have the impact that he had in those final few weeks that he was back after the injury. And everyone's like, well, been waiting to say it. Dude's washed. You know what I mean? Like, he's at a different phase of his career. Comes back this year and decides, for my latest trick, I'll become the best point guard in basketball. And that is what is so, not just the longevity and the accomplishments and the accolades, the way to do it for different teams and different systems and different coaches with different teammates to always be the guy everyone would rather have on their team than whomever their best guy
Even
is.
after game 1 of this year, after game 1,
immediately
were like, everyone's like, well, if that's what it looks like, it's not going to be great.
And in their defense, in game 1, LeBron was bad. And since then, he's been the best player in the league by a decent margin.
All right, let's break there. Magic wrote, if he continues at this pace, he will definitely be the league MVP this season. No one is playing better than him. And what's scary is his story is still being written. All right, Sarah, is Magic right? LeBron, the MVP right now as we sit here today?
I believe he is. I believe he is. I think that Giannis has been having a monster start to the season. He is certainly in the conversation, but I think at this point, what LeBron has helped the Lakers to do, how well they've been playing, I never would have anticipated, despite the fact that their schedule is favorable to start the season, that they would have had to start and come together so quickly with all the pieces. I also think the numbers for LeBron are, of course, very impressive. What he's helped Anthony Davis become, the way in which he's continued to, just by the eye test, get to that next level defensively of what we used to see in years past. I think that if you're looking at the situation saying, who do I want to have the ball at the end of the game, I want it LeBron James' hands.
Well, and you mentioned what he's helping Anthony Davis do. A totally revamped coaching staff.
Yeah.
A totally revamped roster. The guys who are on this team that predate LeBron James, I think the full list is KCP and Kuzma. I think this is a new team.
Yeah.
And I know Laker fans last year, so we were still a little squeamish on LeBron, like, you're not going to break up our young core. You're not going to do what you did. No, he's going to do all of it.
Yeah.
And he's going to bring in another great player. And then all of a sudden, the team, what has been shocking to me is I thought they'd be really good defensively. I did not think they could be. Well, because I thought
Anthony Davis,
and when they made it clear they wanted to play another center, to play Anthony Davis and a big guy, I thought it would hurt them demonstrably on the offensive end, but they would have so much length that I thought defensively they could be a really good team. But I did not think they could be the #1 defense in basketball, and that's what they are. And if you are a top 5 defense in basketball and you have Anthony Davis to go along with the highest IQ offensive player in league history in LeBron James, you're going to be at worst a top 8 offense, and they're right now right outside the top 10, but that's going to tick up. Right now, if it's valuable, of course he's the most valuable player in basketball. If it's outstanding, there's 2 other guys in the conversation, Giannis and Luka.
Yes.
And Luka, and with Luka, his team's winning as well. I mean, they're 9-5, and he will rewrite the record books that LeBron James rewrote as far as youngest to do this, youngest to do that. LeBron has all those records. Luka's coming for him. But right now, I thought what you said at the end is maybe the most important. It's not just at the end of the game. For once again, if you were to ask all 30 GMs, and they had to be honest, and it was anonymous, for this season, you can have any player in the league on your team. Who's the one you would take from another team? All 30 GMs, all 29, aside from the Lakers, they already have him, would say LeBron. And that is the definition of valuable or outstanding, depending on how you want to look at it.
I agree, and I agree with everything Magic Johnson is saying. LeBron James has been lights out, not just offensively. And I know we're talking about their team defense, but the fact that LeBron has decided and made a conscious effort to put in the work and the effort on the defensive end, that has made them really special, because now he's playing the passing lanes. He's actually getting up in the defender's face instead of lagging in the paint and just letting his defender be the one that, okay, you beat us if your team's going to win. He has not decided to do that, and that will propel you on the other end of the ball. And so when you talk about let's talk about last year, like LeBron James and his success early with the Lakers, and then he gets hurt, and then they don't make the playoffs, and he hears all these talks of Kawhi Leonard being better, James Harden being better. He's not even in the conversation of best player in the league anymore. Kevin